Hello everyone and welcome to another Pyro gaming video. It's a new week, which means there are new vendor weapons to take a look at. Let's go ahead and jump right in. For all of you auto rifle guys out there, 0 Day Dilemma at the Crucible could be potentially fun for you. We have Counterbalance, Braced Frame or Appended Magazine, with Braced Frame being the one that you want to select here, as well as Focused Fire and Danger Close, with Focused Fire being the winner. Sight options, we also have Sure Shot IS, which is a very good sight, and altogether, this is a pretty good weapon. Sure Shot IS, Focus Fire, Braced Frame, and Counterbalance altogether makes for a pretty fun auto rifle in PvP. The B29 Party Favor Pulse Rifle this week comes with Rangefinder, Braced Frame, Feather Mag, Outlaw, and Life Support. Sight options, we have Reflex, Quick Draw, and OEG. Quick Draw probably being the better of the three. Taking Outlaw, Braced Frame, and Rangefinder and putting them all together on this archetype of pulse rifle, you have yourself a pretty decent PvP pulse rifle that is definitely worth checking out. The Palindrome has made the weekly vendor reset video yet again. Go figure. This week's Palindrome comes with Hidden Hand, Reinforced Barrel or Lightweight, Triple Tap or Rescue Mag, as well as muzzle options or sight options being True Sight IS, Fast Draw IS, and Quick Draw IS, with True Sight being the winner. Triple Tap versus Rescue Mag, this is PvE, this is PvP, to put it simply. Over here, Reinforced Barrel is always going to be better than Lightweight, and of course, Hidden Hand is never bad. Altogether, this is a 4-star Palindrome out of potentially 5 stars. Not quite a god roll, but still a pretty damn good Palindrome with Hidden Hand and Reinforced Barrel. For PvP, I would say go ahead and stick with Rescue Mag. For PvE, again, Triple Tap, although I don't know why you would use this very much in PvE. For all of you Crucible shotgun enthusiasts, this week's 44 Curtain Call at the Crucible Quartermaster could be worth taking a look at, coming with Rangefinder, Small Bore, and your choice of either Replenish or Life Support. Life Support is good on shotguns because typically you're within melee range when you use them, so Life Support could potentially save your life. On the flip side of that, Replenish is also really good because every time you pop your super, you get some free special. As far as muzzle options go, you're going to want to stick with Smooth Ballistics over Accurized and Aggressive because they drop your range, and range is pretty important on shotguns in case you did not know. So with Small Bore and Rangefinder, what you have here is a pretty decent shotgun for the Crucible. For all of you Crucible sidearm fans, this week's in Preacher 5 over at the New Monarchy vendor is worth taking a look at. Coming with Hot Swap, Fitted Stock, Army of One, High Caliber Rounds, and Snapshot, as well as True Sight IS Fast Draw and Quick Draw, with True Sight being the winner. Pair that with High Caliber Rounds, Fitted Stock for a little bit of extra stability, and Hot Swap, and actually use this as a sidearm, meaning keep your primary out until you see an enemy and then switch to your sidearm to make Hot Swap proc, and you have yourself a pretty good Crucible sidearm right here. High Caliber Rounds is always good because it staggers enemies in the Crucible. Going back to auto rifles, we have the Extremophile 011 at the Dead Orbit vendor that comes with Persistence, Perfect Balance, or Hot Swap, with Perfect Balance being the better of the two. High Caliber Rounds or Quick Draw, with High Caliber beating out Quick Draw by a wide margin, as well as Reflex, Steady Hand IS, and OEG, with Steady Hand being the sight option you want to choose. Combine Steady Hand IS with High Caliber Rounds, Perfect Balance, and Persistence, and what you have is a very stable auto rifle with pretty good target acquisition, as well as the ability to stagger your enemies in the Crucible, and altogether you have yourself a pretty damn good auto rifle for the Crucible. Definitely worth checking out for you auto rifle fans. A lot of you will look at this week's Keystone 01 Scout Rifle and think that it's pretty good, but I'm including it in this video just as a PSA to let you guys know that you probably shouldn't pick it up. It's not going to be all that great. This week it comes with Zen Moment, Hammer Forged, Unflinching, Explosive Rounds, Full Auto, Red Dot, Focus Lens, and OEG. On paper, this thing has some pretty good perks, but we're going to go ahead and break it down for you real quick. Zen Moment, causing damage with this weapon increases its stability. It's not a terrible perk, but you could definitely do better. Hammer Forged gives you a little bit more range. Range on this archetype of scout rifle is completely pointless for the simple fact that you have to be really far away from your enemies to notice that damage drop-off. Unflinching, again, doesn't really matter. You don't flinch a lot when you're getting shot with this thing anyway. This is not a weapon that you want to be up close and personal with, so your flinching shouldn't be that big of an issue. Explosive rounds isn't bad on this archetype, but again, it doesn't mesh well with the rest of this stuff. And full auto is kind of pointless on this archetype because its rate of fire is so slow. So because of these reasons, you should not pick up the Keystone 01. I just wanted to include it in this video because I know that somebody's going to comment and say, oh man, it's got really good perks. And it does have good perks, just not good perks for this archetype of scout rifle. The Worlds to Come 001 Fusion Rifle could be worth taking a look at this week, coming with Hidden Hand, Hammer Forged, or Spray and Play, Enhanced Battery or Hip Fire, as well as MD Reflex, Red Dot ORA, and OEG, which is what I would go with personally, just because. Not really any reasoning behind it. But as far as perks go, you're probably going to want to go with Hip Fire because it does group your shots quite a bit. It's pretty much like adding a lot of stability to a fusion rifle, which is really, really good. Some of you may be tempted to go with Enhanced Battery, but trust me, Hip Fire is going to do you justice in the long run in the Crucible. Next up, we have Hammer Forged or Spray and Play. I would definitely go with Hammer Forged, given the special ammo economy. Spray and Play is not going to be very beneficial to you. And lastly, we have Hidden Hand, which is just never a bad perk. So altogether, you have yourself a pretty good, but not great, fusion rifle for the Crucible, should you need one. Speaking of fusion rifles, the Waiting fusion rifle of Future War Cult is pretty good this week. We have Hot Swap, which, if used correctly, can be very good on fusion rifles. Keep your primary out until you see an enemy, and then switch to your secondary and use your fusion rifle, and it will do you justice. Next up, we have Hammer Forged if you want to decrease your damage drop-off, or you can go with Performance Bonus if you want to get some free ammo occasionally when you get a kill in the Crucible. And lastly, we have Accelerated Coils or Quick Draw. I'm going to recommend Quick Draw here because it pairs really well with Hot Swap if you're using Hot Swap the right way. Not to mention, Accelerated Coils does lower your impact and increases your charge rate, which admittedly on this archetype is not necessarily a bad thing because its impact is so high, and as far as side options go, nothing really changes your stats, so it just comes down to preference. Altogether, this is a pretty decent fusion rifle for the Crucible, definitely worth checking out if you are a fan of fusions. Each week I do these videos, we don't seem to get very many PvE options. Well, this week we have one that's okay, and it is the Wounded Scout Rifle at Future War Cult. It comes with Zen Moment. More stability is never a bad thing. We have Hammer Forged, which isn't terrible on this archetype, but I would definitely recommend going with Outlaw to increase that reload speed. And lastly, we have Armor-Piercing Rounds as well as Full Auto. I would pick Full Auto over Armor-Piercing Rounds. That is my preference. And as far as side options go, we have Red Dot ORA, we have Ranged Lens, which is what I would go with, and we also have the OEG Rifle Scope, which is also a pretty good option. I would definitely go with one of these two because these give you boost to range, whereas this one does not. So for me, I would go Full Auto, Outlaw, and Zen Moment. I would use this in PvE, and I would have a very stable, very quickly reloading, and very quickly firing scout rifle that's going to do good DPS and good ad control. So definitely worth checking out if you are a fan of scout rifles in PvE. So by now we should all know that Cluster Bombs is really effective on Axis Phase 2 in the raid, and that's pretty much the only situation where it's really, really good. And this week's Warpath is going to be good for Axis Phase 2 and Axis Phase 2 only. Coming with Cluster Bomb, your choice of Perfect Balance or Third Eye, both of these are wasted perks, and Field Scout to increase carried ammo capacity over Quick Draw. We also have Aggressive Launch, Soft Launch, and Hard Launch. Hard Launch probably being the best one because it increases your velocity just a little bit while sacrificing minimal blast radius. But the main reason that you're going to pick this up this week is because of Field Scout and Cluster Bomb, and like I said, you're going to use it on Axis Phase 2 in the raid, and that is it. We have yet another decent PvP auto rifle to take a look at this week at the Vanguard Quartermaster. The Continental comes with Persistence. This is never a bad thing. We have Perfect Balance, again, never a bad thing. Appended Magazine, I would skip on that and definitely use Perfect Balance over it. And lastly, we have Focus Fire, which is going to give you a little bit more damage while slowing down your rate of fire just a little bit. Focus Fire and Persistence pair really, really well together. And lastly, we have Red Dot, Quick Draw, and OEG Rifle Scope, with Quick Draw being the best choice of the three, in my opinion. So Focused Fire plus Perfect Balance plus Persistence, you have yourself a decent, but not overly powerful, auto rifle for PvP. Definitely worth checking out if you're a fan of this archetype. And that is going to bring this week's video to an end, guys. As always, there were a few weapons that seemed kind of good, but for whatever reason just didn't quite do it for me. For that reason, I would still suggest that each and every one of you go and check the vendors to make sure that there isn't a weapon that you would have interest in that I would not have interest in. A lot of this comes down to personal preference and playstyle, and my preference and playstyle might not be the same as yours, so it's always good to double check. Another thing before I let you guys go, this month we will have several new things about Destiny 2 to talk about. IGN recently released a schedule of events that they have planned for Destiny 2, including a farm reveal and a patrol playthrough. So I will try to have as much of that covered on this channel this month as possible, as well as the Destiny 2 beta when it drops on July 18th for the PS4. I will have videos up about that as soon as it goes live. You can count on that. But that's going to bring this video to an end, guys. If you enjoyed it, click like. If you're new to the channel, click subscribe. And if you're already subscribed, I fucking love you. Thank you for watching, and take care, guys.